There we go. That's working now. Hello, hello. This is Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions, and this is the Computer Club, the San Carlos Computer Club. We meet each Tuesday at this time to discuss tech topics, help each other troubleshoot issues, and just shoot the breeze and check in with each other. We've got a list of topics that I've brought, but as often, we are fairly unorganized and have no real agenda. If anyone has a topic they would like to bring to the group, please bring it up, and we'll set aside for that. Is anybody trying to solve a computer problem this morning or this last week?
Well, our last meeting, I was supposed to report back if I figured out why my computer was locking up.
How'd you do, Chester?
And I think I figured that out.
Oh, excellent.
It's not locking up anymore. I accidentally discovered that the computer had the Wi-Fi app turned on, and I had televisions, I had anything in the house, phones that has Wi-Fi on it, I had running through my computer. And as soon as I turned off the Wi-Fi, because I don't have anything hooked up Wi-Fi to my computer, as soon as I turned that off, everything settled down.
So it sounds like
Wi-Fi. I mean Bluetooth.
Oh, Bluetooth. So
Bluetooth,
is your computer Bluetooth. A Wi-Fi computer to begin with, or do you cable it to your network?
No, it's a Wi-Fi computer. Yes, it's a Wi-Fi computer that I don't have a cable. So it's the Bluetooth that was giving me the problem.
Yeah, and I was thinking just that Bluetooth and Wi-Fi run at the same frequency range, so it could be a place where some interference might happen. But then I also got to think back, you've got a Macintosh running Windows 10, and it may just be the simple act of maintaining Bluetooth in Windows with Macintosh hardware. Maybe that was just glitching. Did someone have something to add? Sorry, Chester, go ahead.
Anyway, it looks like it solved my problem.
Well, that's great. If that does solve your problem, then there may be a driver out there for Windows 10 that would resolve that issue. But since you don't, I would probably cross that bridge when I get to it. If you're not doing Bluetooth, it's not an issue.
I don't have any Bluetooth hooked up to my computer. Right? We have Bluetooth throughout the house, but not to my computer.
Right. Well, that's great. If that solves the issue, we'll wait to hear back next week to see if it continues to be the solution.
Okay.
You should probably.
When do you travel, by the way?
In about a month. It'll be about this time next month. Yeah. So we got about a month before I leave. And like I've mentioned in previous meetings, we're not going to try to do an in-person meeting until I'm back. So I'm saying the first in-person meeting is being planned for the first Tuesday of October. And I'm also saying that I will continue to maintain virtual computer meetings throughout the summer as long as I'm capable of doing it. I have not tried to do it while running the bed and breakfast, and I may have to say no, but at this moment I'm saying yes. So tentatively, nothing should be changing on your guys' ends. Have we got any other anecdotes, any other stories or troubleshooting to share with the group? Something that could be helpful, something we should all know. Why is my computer working so hard to do so little? I don't get it.
So, Scott.
Yes, Cheryl. I'm here.
I tried to give you a shout out, and the person that was looking for computer assistance basically told me you were unavailable.
I saw that
I
post.
did point out to her that that hadn't been our experience.
Wait.
So today I posted on her thing saying that, you've connected remotely to our computers in Canada. Not only are you available, you're available in 3 countries, So.
Cheryl, thank you. Those things really make it so much easier for me to find new customers, and I really appreciate it when people do stuff like that. That's the only real marketing I do is word of mouth, passing business cards, and so when somebody gives me a shout out like that, it really means a lot. It means I can find another job somewhere. Well, I posted on the same thing saying, I keep a calendar. Just give me a call. We'll set an appointment. And I am available for remote help or in person. If I'm in the city you're in, I can help you in person. Well, if we don't have any new news or any topics, if you've not taken a moment to look at this document yet, I've got a couple of news stories I thought were very interesting. One of them is dear to my heart because this is a invention from a guy from Alaska. And he worked as a ramper for 38 years, loading and unloading luggage from aircraft, and came up with the idea of a collapsible ramp. And his name's Tim Fulton, and he has designed this collapsible conveyor belt that you can carry in when you carry in the luggage to the belly of the plane. This is something that I wasn't aware of, but the whole moving luggage off and on the belly of the plane hasn't changed since aviation's went commercial. And so these guys are having to crawl around on their knees, tossing and kicking and pushing luggage from one end of the plane to the other, either to fill it up or to take it off. And so it's really done a number on a lot of them. They're in the article, they say something about talking to other rampers, and all of them complain about back problems. And so Tim, wanting to resolve this issue, came up with the idea of a portable conveyor belt. And so his design folds up into a size that's slightly bigger than a suitcase and can be with the luggage as it's coming to be added to the belly of the plane.
The card on force doesn't show.
And as you move your way down the belly, stacking luggage, the conveyor belt can be built out all the way to the end or collapsed forward as you're making your way out. And then it can be stored right next to the door, so it's available for use coming and going. Anyway, I just shouted out because it's new tech. Oh, I guess it's also got some ties to us because there's 3 of them right now. 2 of them are with Mexico Airlines. One is in full production or full use for testing. The other one's on display for them to look at, and he's getting contracts in another country as well. But I thought this was interesting that they had one in use right now with Mexico Air, and this is an inventor from Alaska, and he came up with this idea during COVID because his work had slowed down so much that he had time to think about these things, and now he's started a corporation. And they've already got orders, and they're going to be manufacturing them, at least for the moment, in Alaska. That's the first news story on this list.
When I tried to open that, nothing opened but a little picture, so I couldn't even tell what he would built.
Oh, if you click on the picture, it'll take you to the article.
Oh, okay, I'll try that because it did
Yeah.
look interesting.
Scott,
Yeah, Bill.
on a connected note, I saw on the internet today that Boeing is delivering the last 4 cargo 747s to DHL this month. That's the last production of the 747. They still make those things.
The 747. So you're saying they're discontinuing the 747?
Yeah, this 4 that they're delivering to DHL are the last 4 that'll come off the production line, I guess.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought they'd quit making those things years ago.
I guess I don't really understand how that works. Like the 737's been around forever and they still make it, right?
Yeah, but the 747's been around for a lot longer than that.
Oh, yeah? See how
That's the
little
one
I
they
know?
fly the president around in.
Oh, okay. That's a jumbo jet?
That's the jumbo. That's what it is.
Hey,
Been
Bill,
around since in the 70s, I'm sure.
I'm hearing you scratchy
Apparently the
and
president's
breaking.
plane,
I'm sorry, Chester, I didn't mean to
Right.
interrupt you,
I'll put my
but
hands.
you're sounding scratchy and broken up. I'm wondering if anyone else is hearing that. Maybe it's just me. Chester, you're coming through clear.
I'm hearing that from you.
Broken and
I
scratchy?
hear you scratch and break up.
Maybe
For
it's
you,
just
yes.
a little bit.
Okay. Well, Chester, what were you going to add? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I was going to add that the very expensive planes that they're building for the president, they apparently dropped one of them and created a substantial amount of damage and delay because of it.
They dropped one.
Apparently it was on, yeah, it was on stands and the stands collapsed or something happened that created a real problem.
Is this recent or?
But just adding something. Yeah, I just read it last week.
Well, that's interesting. The president's plane was dropped while they were building it.
Not the existing plane, the new plane.
The new one.
The new plane.
I'm just making a note because I want to go look for this.
So, Scott, I'm ready to share something.
Good morning, Pop. Yes, please do.
Hello. Well, you folks may remember a few weeks ago, I had come across an article about increasing your security by putting a hold on your credit accounts. And when I read about that, the article itself made it sound kind of complicated. Like I have a lot of trouble when I have to submit documents and things like that on the computer. So I was a little hesitant, but I was pleased to find that it's not like that anymore. It's very simple. All 3 were set up so you could just go in, answer a few questions, and it would be done. And then you're also instructed on how to activate it again when you want to be able to have access to that particular credit report. So I wanted to share that with you because I was surprised at how simple it was to do that. So I did all 3, just bang, 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 no problem. So I think
did you
it's well worth it for those of us that are not out looking for. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, were you able to do all 3 in the same spot, or is those 3 different websites you had to go to?
3 different websites, but I probably did them all within about 15 or 20 minutes. Just bang, bang, bang. It was real easy. So I'm feeling a little more secure now.
All right. At least nobody's trying to take money out in your name.
Right.
Well, that's good to know that that's so easy. What 3 websites are those? Equifax, I think, is one of them.
Yeah, everybody.
Experion, Equifax,
Equifax.
and I can't think of what the third, oh, TransUnion. Or
There you go. Yeah.
Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion.
TransUnion. I'll put some links on today's
I
meeting.
think that's the name. But
Credit
there was
reports.
some place that you could do them all three at once, but that's been years ago.
Well, you should look for it. See if I can find anything on the internet that makes that even easier, though it sounds
So
like it's easy.
Scott, I don't.
Yes.
Scott, this is a non-computer thing, but did you hear that Hedda died?
Hedda.
Did you hear me? Hedda?
Yeah, remind me who we're talking about.
Hedda?
No.
Well, you guys would take her, you would take her to the airport and yeah.
Oh, no. Does Yuya know that?
From Loma Del Mar. Oh, yes. I don't know. I just heard it yesterday.
I bet she doesn't know because she would have shared that with me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Judy, say again?
So anyway, please let her know.
I will.
Please
That's so
let her
sad.
know that happened. Yes. Not yesterday, but I think the night before, Sunday night maybe, or Monday. Yeah.
Was she in the States or here?
So, as far as I know, she was in the States, and also Bobby Mitchell. Yeah, you would have known Bobby Mitchell too. Bobby
passed away? Really? Wow. You know, Bobby Mitchell is one of my first customers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby Mitchell,
yes.
the Tillies.
She was,
yeah.
I believe she was Sunday or Monday, and Hedda was the day before, or vice versa.
Well, Bobby must have been here. Wasn't she living here?
No, she was
They
in
had moved
Arizona.
her north. They had moved her north to hospice.
I guess I didn't know that. Well, thanks.
Not too long ago. I mean, it hasn't been that long.
Well, thanks for the cheery news on the San Carlos Computer Club. Everybody's spirits are lifted
I know,
now.
it's sad.
What else do we got going on? Did you guys see this? That Google joined Samsung in working with iFixit on self-repair programs. So this is an article where Google, I had mentioned to you guys a while back that Samsung had started making their information, certain models, repairable, easier to repair. And I also mentioned that Google was helping with Chromebook fixes. This is all more of, I mean, it's all PR. They're all trying to buy good faith through PR, but it's a real thing. And what they're doing is they're going to work with iFixit to make better instructions for sorry, Pop, we got some background noise coming through. I'm going to mute you if that's okay. Did that mute? There we go. This is all about being able to fix, or somebody like myself being able to fix your devices. More of this rights to repair stuff. And instead of there being legislation regulating it, these corporations are electing to do it. They see the future. They see this as being the reason that consumers in the future will be buying products, is because of their repairability. And so they're leaning into it. And now Google is working with Samsung to work with iFixit. If you're not familiar with iFixit, it's a great website. It started out as mostly Macintosh instructions. And people like myself, they would take apart and take pictures and document and measure and provide detailed instructions so that someone else could come along and do the same repair themselves. And so now I know reliably I can go to ifixit.com for free without signing up for anything, and I can look up a huge inventory of various computers, lots of Macintosh stuff, MacBook Pro from 2012, and find out how to change its motherboard with step-by-step instructions, part numbers that I might need to order, pictures that detail procedures. iFixit has just been a great website for folks like myself. And to know that Google is getting behind them and Samsung is getting behind them to help those followers repair things is very significant. And so that's what this second article is about. And this self-repair.
I think that all.
Go ahead.
I think that
Chester.
all started with John Deere and the farmers complaining they couldn't fix their tractors or John Deere equipment. And I believe that's where it all started.
You're not wrong. I mean, this right to repair has been an issue for a long time, but John Deere brought it to a head where everyone can get behind this concept. In this case, though, I think this is like John Deere going, okay, you can fix your own tractor. This is what Google and Samsung are saying is, okay, you can fix your own tractor. Here's the instructions on how to do it. Here's where you find parts. We're going to start selling parts so you can fix it yourself or you can bring it to somebody. And they're doing all this preemptively because we really don't have any right to repair legislation at a federal level. We have some states that are starting to instigate it. And I think that these companies are seeing the writing on the wall and they're trying to get behind this, how do they say it? Trying to get in front of this before it becomes something they have to comply to. They're trying to make it part of their business model. I think it's all good stuff. They don't want to get stuck like John Deere right now. They're they're a bad word right now because of this whole being able to repair your tractor thing.
You know, in this connection, I found anytime I have something I can't figure out or can't understand how to do, I go to YouTube, and it's amazing what YouTube instructions you can find on just about anything, and how to do it. It's just marvelous.
Well, you're not wrong there. In fact, I take apart computers on YouTube from time to time, and Emily was helping me fix the Chromebook. Actually, Emily was fixing the Chromebook of her sister's because the keyboard had gotten damaged. We got the parts, and we sat and watched the YouTube video I made of taking it apart the first time so she could take it apart the second time. We're just doing that kind of stuff all the time now. I think we're going to see more self-repair stuff. We need a clear direction for this stuff that's much more circular in our thinking. This resources used and recovered and reused instead of just throwing things away. And so self-repair is part of that circle of life, that technology circle of life. Well, it's still early and we're rolling down my list of topics. If anybody wants to jump in with anything, feel free. The next thing on my list I found very interesting. Oh, go ahead, Chester.
I have something that I'm experiencing recently, and it has to do with you. And I have a pop-up window that has to do with the San Carlos Computer Club, and I can't remember what all it's asking me to do something. And I'm sorry, I just didn't memorize what it was asking for. But every time I come on, even emails, when I get an email like the one this morning, click on it, and this pop-up window comes up on the Computer Club.
I don't know what that is. Well, so Can you take a screenshot of it the next time that it pops up for you?
Next time it happens, I'll do it. Next time it happens, I'll do a screenshot, and then,
Yeah.
then maybe next week I'll have that.
And having pop-ups, regardless of whether it's when you're looking at the computer club email or anybody's email, is disconcerting. I would be concerned that a window, that your browser is creating that kind of behavior in the first place. So I think I would be concerned that,
Right.
I mean, there's no reason it should be related to the computer club, though I am curious what it looks like. There are settings for stopping pop-ups. Do we still have those in Chrome? I'm looking across my browser right now. Maybe you have to install a plugin. It seems like we went through a period of time where there was a pop-up blocker built right into the tools of the Chrome browser, and I don't see it here anymore.
Well, I'll try to report on this next week.
Yeah. There's no reason a rogue window should be popping up. There's no reason a rogue window should be popping up on your screen. There's no good reason. So I'm very concerned by what it might mean. As long as you know I'm not asking you to do anything. As long as you know I'm not asking you to do anything.
Chester, are you using Chrome as your browser?
Yes.
You know, one thing.
Edge, you're also using Chrome because they all switched to Chrome as a background.
That's right. Everything is Chromium based. Chromium is the name of the motor that drives those web cars. Is Chromium, and you find it in Edge as well as Opera, Brave. The only competition right now for a different browser engine is Firefox, and it's slowly losing the small market share that it has. And the other exception would be Safari, which is only available on Apple products again. There was a time when it was available on Windows, but they pulled back from that. And so Safari is, so those are the three big ones. There's Chromium, Safari's WebKit, that's what the engine of Safari is called, is WebKit, and Firefox. What do they call theirs? I think it's something Mozilla. Their motor for Firefox.
Yes, it's Mozilla, Mozilla, I think.
Yeah, I know that's the name of the organization.
I like Firefox better than I like Safari.
Yeah. I like Firefox. I typically, when I'm doing web work, I test it on everything to see how it'll behave. And I like Firefox. There's been a couple of instances where something, because it was Firefox specific, didn't work where other browsers did, and you had to wait for Firefox to catch up with that. There's also the Tor browser. If you're not familiar with Tor, you've probably heard people talk about Tor, the Onion router. That's what Tor stands for, T-O-R, the Onion router. And this is using individual nodes for data to come to you and leave from you that are random. I am getting feedback, and I think it's coming from you, Judy, so I'm just hitting the mute real quick.
I beat you.
Oh, well, I think we just unmuted. There we go. The Tor router, the whole concept of the Tor router is that when you ask for information or click on information, that information is distributed amongst a number of different, they're called exit nodes. And so your data never appears to be coming from the same place. And so it's difficult to narrow down your location. And so it anonymizes your activities. And the Tor browser has been built on top of Firefox. So that's another interesting aspect of Firefox. Also, Firefox has a developer's version, which is great for if you're writing web pages. You can use the developer tools for designing your web pages, getting things like color codes or font sizes. You can pull them off of the web page using the developer's version of Firefox. They've got tools for that kind of stuff. Just a lot of random nonsense browser stuff.
Did everybody notice the inflation index this morning?
No.
8.5%. 8.5%, and in some states as high as 10%, particularly those in the South.
Wow. Well, I want to go back to
find out what it has on.
I want to go back to talking about computers. That's too sad. I don't want to talk about it. Chester, where do you get your updates online? Where do you get that information when you're looking at it?
I got this off of Fox News.
Oh.
And what I read was that it's mostly due to the increase of gas prices.
I think gas and groceries.
Which are kind of interconnected in my mind.
And commodities are going through the roof. Copper, aluminum, commodities, lumber.
Well, aren't they also saying these large corporations are showing record profits as well?
Well, the profits start getting posted tomorrow. So we'll find out in the next couple of weeks how the big companies have fared. But yes, all of them are making more money because the prices are higher.
Well, yeah, but isn't that like they're making more profits from what's been reported, not just revenue? So the prices being higher aren't necessarily.
I think it converts the profit.
Yeah, they aren't necessarily justified by everything else being more expensive, other than they're just sticking with the trend, since their profits are going up at a time when it's not necessary for their profits to go up. From what I've been reading.
And many of those that aren't raising prices are reducing the volume. In other words, a lot of stuff you buy in the grocery store, you get less off at the same price.
Creating an artificial scarcity
Sometimes
that also
10%
bumps up the price, right?
Remember when you used to get a pound of bacon and a gallon of ice cream?
What do you mean, remember when I used to? I did that last week.
Those are all shorter now.
No. You have guys keep coming in and out. I can't tell whether you can hear me or not. But keep in mind, I am being a smartass over here on I'm hilarious. See, I can't
makes
tell.
two of us.
I'm not having any real problems.
Oh,
Maybe
good.
It's just me.
Good. I'm having trouble with the feedback. It feels like there's a delay between me talking and your guys' reactions. So I'm just artificially buffering myself for you.
There's still a high-pitched kind of whine. It's very faint, but it's there.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
Everybody is muted, so.
I don't know how to fix it. Oh, maybe it's my fan over here. Turn that off. See if that makes any difference. Well, I found another article that I thought was really interesting. The title of it is Internet Algos Speak is Changing Our Language in Real Time. From Nipnopes to Le Dollar Bean. This is an article that talks about, this is completely new to me. I came across this week I never heard of this stuff. And I need to talk to my kids to see if they're aware of this. But this is an article talking about how influencers on making videos in places like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram are purposely using replacive language for words that will demonetize them and get them a lower ranking score, making it difficult to monetize their videos. And I find this fascinating. In the title, I know from reading the article that the title uses two terms that I just rattled off. One is nipnopes, which is a replacement used by many TikTokers for nipples when talking about breast issues, sexual awareness issues, and transgender issues. People will replace this language because of our voice-to-text technology. If the algorithm hears this language in its true form, it may result in lowering the ranking of the content and making it difficult to monetize. And for some of these influencers, this is their main source of income. And so they're finding a whole new language emerging, which is fascinating. It's fascinating that there is this reductive language of replacements that is being self-imposed by creators based on what a computer algorithm will do to their content if they don't. Do you guys follow all that? It's crazy to think about. We went through this with YouTube when their algorithm was scaring parents because people were playing to the algorithm, and you would end up with like full-grown adults running around in pink tutus, jumping into ball pits with yogurt, because something about that collective was what would allow it to see the most eyeballs, because the algorithm would churn towards this content that just didn't make any sense to us on a personal level. You sit down and look at this, and it's like, what is the appeal? And there's absolutely no real appeal, except for it's got an algorithmic appeal so that it will be pushed in front of eyeballs to be watched. And because it's pushed in front of eyeballs to be watched, then it's there to be advertised on top of. And so it includes keywords, content, as well as things like length of video and music in the video. And so this is the latest incarnation of this kind of behavior, is people self-regulating them to change their language so that a search algorithm won't demonetize them or deplatform them. There's some speech that could get lost in the algorithm. It might be considered hate speech, or it might be considered transphobic speech, or some of this nature. And so they replace these terminologies a lot of times on the fly, because the speech to text algorithms will hear them talking and change how they're listed on their platforms. I saw a timer warning pop up. It looks like we're going to switch over in less than 8 minutes. Just giving you guys a heads up. I'm going to swap over to that other meet and just get it going so that it's ready for when we're ready. When I first got online, I was in college, and almost immediately there was a language that we started using called leet speak. And that was mostly abbreviations and cool ways to say things and kind of covert messages to each other in text messages and discussion groups, kind of indicating we know what we're talking. In fact, to drive the point home, leet itself, like elite, is the name, and it would be spelled L33T, LEET, instead of LEET. And this is just I can recognize people doing this, but I'm not going to recognize it when my kids come to me talking in these abbreviated terms that they've made up, and they could be nonsensical. Well, I said nipnopes, that means nipples. The other thing I read in the title to you is Les Dollar Bean, which means lesbian. And so when they're talking about lesbian topics, they will say Les Dollar Bean. I'm not worried about using any of their terms because I don't care what the search algorithm does to my YouTube video. I only get 16 visits to each video, so it just doesn't matter. People are already not finding my videos. Can't make it any worse. But for these guys, you're talking about tens, hundreds of thousands of followers. They've made a life on advertising, and they will lose that ability because of the way these algorithms are being driven to rank your content against others. We're going to have an algorithmic driven world. That is.
Well, you could use those.
Go ahead,
You
Paul.
could use those substitutions to improve. You can use those substitutions to improve your audience numbers.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
maybe.
You're frozen.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm frozen. There's nothing I can do about it. But I can hear you, and yeah, absolutely. I think that's a nice way to look at it. I think pardon me. I also think a realistic way to look at it is it's not going to take long for those to be programmed into the algorithm as well. And what this shows is that inevitably we are going to be algorithm-driven culture. It's just inevitable. There's just too much data being tracked. There's too much of this kind of decision-making being done. And I've said before, I'm kind of in favor of it. I've seen how well politicians make decisions, and I'm ready to start letting some robots make some decisions. And so I think the algorithm, we have to just accept the fact that we're going to be living algorithm-driven lives, and we need to start addressing the algorithms appropriately. We need to decide what all this stuff is going to be regulated, so we need to decide what kind of community we want to live in. And we're going to be deciding it through regulation of these algorithms. It's a very trying to be open-minded about a dystopian look at.
Are a mixed bag.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're a mixed bag, kind of the same way that when the horse and buggy, the automobile came in with the horse and buggy, and they were loud and made pollution and got stuck. But I think we're at that point, Chester, where it's unreliable. That's why we have to pay so close attention to it, because they're dumb algorithms. But what we see
sometimes
I'm listening. Go ahead, Chester. We've got a delay.
I'll want to look at it. Okay, we're quitting?
No, we're not. Go.
I'm lost. Oh, okay. Sometimes I'll YouTube a particular subject that I want to look at, and I look at it, and then all of a sudden I got 30 more just like it by different authors and different YouTubes. But then on the other hand, sometimes I will look up something automotive, and there'll be 30 or 40 automotive things that are also very interesting. So it's good and it's bad all in the same time.
Yes, and I think what that is just pointing out the infancy of this concept, how new this really is. They are dumb algorithms. They are not well thought out. The the technology is at the beginning. But what we know from the beginning is we can see where the future's going, and we need to start steering our culture because it's not a different road. We're on the road going that direction. We've just got to decide how we're going to navigate that course to where we're going to end up. What kind of regulating of these algorithms is going to happen? They need to be smarter, and they need to shape the kind of community we want to live in. That's got to be decided outside the computer, because the computer is going to just be able to do it. Go ahead, Paul.
We're under a minute to go.
Oh, okay. I'm opening up the other meet. Hopefully I will have better technical issues. I'll have less technical issues than I am right now. I'm going to let go of this other meet and meet you on the other side. Why does my computer have to go so slow? I don't get it. I just need a new computer. I think I'm going to move all this over to a different laptop computer to see if I can get some better performance out of a different device.
What kind of computer would you get to replace it when you say new?
Just something that can handle the amount of capacity I'm asking from this one. You know, we were talking about the task manager and viewing the performance. And when I do this I maintain this meet and I stream out to YouTube, and I look up web pages. When I'm trying to do all that at the same time, I run out of both memory and processing. And my processor is a 6th generation Intel, and my memory is 12 gigabytes. And so when I'm talking about a new computer, I would be looking for one that would have 16 or more gigabytes, a minimum of 16 gigabytes of memory, and a processor that would fall within this Windows 11 constraint, this artificial constraint that Microsoft has put up on Windows 11. And I would use that as my guide simply because I want to be future-proofing whatever I'm doing. So it'd have to be like a 9th, 10th, 11th, or even the latest 12th Intel, or just go into a Macintosh, because I know that M1 would be able to handle all this without sweating. But hey, on that note, have you guys noticed that they've done a bunch of benchmarks on the M1, the Max, the Pro, and the Ultra? And what these reviewers are showing is that the single core performance of the M1 is the same across all their chip lines. So that's really, I mean, I wasn't prepared to talk about it, but it keeps coming in the back of my mind. This M1 is an insane performer versus power use. And most people are doing single core processes, which means that all their low-end stuff is perfectly acceptable for most of your needs. The software hasn't really caught up to make it possible to take advantage of those kinds of performance increases of the multi-cores. But when it comes to the single core processing, like using a word processor, surfing a web page, even recording something like this as single-use process, it is the same speed whether it's the original M1 or it's the dual-chipped M1 Ultra. That single core processing speed is the same across all of them. The other thing that I found fascinating about that technology, I've probably mentioned it before, is that the A15, which is the latest mobile chip for your iPads and your iPhones, is a newer design than the M1 chip that came out alongside the A14. So they're continuing to iterate on a previous design that they've already advanced in their mobile platforms, if that makes sense. So
Maybe you need a gamer computer.
a Yammer computer. Well, you know the one that I
Gamer.
really, a gamer
gamer.
computer? Yeah, I thought I was doing that when I got this, but it sure has been just barely enough. This is a 6th generation Intel with 12 gigs of RAM and an SSD. And I just assumed it would always be enough for what we're doing here, but it's throughout the last 2 years, it's become harder and harder to do the same thing. Good morning, Mom.
Gamer. There's computers with twin processors.
Right. And there's software that support multiple processors. And that's the reason those M1s are so impressive, is because they've got like 16 cores of graphics, 16 cores of CPUs. And each core, I guess that's the point, is those cores don't outperform if you get the M1 Max, the M1 Pro, or the M1 Ultra. There's nothing about that single core processing that is a better performer. It's when you're, I guess, encoding video, they were able to show a slight increase along that platform. When the processes have been built to take advantage of those innovations, then you'll see it. But the majority of things people do don't take advantage of those innovations. So if you're looking at a Macintosh, you could save a lot of money staying in their low end. In fact, there's a good argument made for getting the MacBook Pro versus the new MacBook Air, getting the old MacBook Pro versus the new MacBook Air, because the processors are almost identical and there's better features for the price position. You get a better screen, you get a better stylus. There's some other stuff that I wasn't even prepared to talk about. What's up, Judy? Are you out of here?
Do I hear that?
Go ahead.
No, do I hear that our guru is now going to a Mac? Oh my God.
No, you don't. I don't have any money for a Mac. I would, though.
Yeah, you do. It's better than hassling.
Better than what?
Hassling with what you have.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. But hey, I won't be going to a new Mac for the same reason I'm not going to a new car. The other
is coming.
Yeah. The other computer that I find very intriguing, that I might be very interested in getting behind, is that Framework PC. If you guys, we had talked about it a few months ago, but this is the one that's totally repairable. It's been built to be repaired. And it just surprised everybody, because we always felt like if you can service the computer, then it ends up being a very bulky item. And Framework was able to build computers that are slim, ultra book kind of design, very MacBook reminiscent. But the keyboards can be replaced, the memory can be upgraded, the hard drives can be replaced, the screen can be replaced, the ports can be reassigned. The ports are actually high-speed USB-C connectors, and they have modules. So if you need 3 HDMIs, you can buy 3 HDMI ports, and you can stick them in yourself. There's these modular bays that you plug them into. If you'd rather use that module for another hard drive or an SD reader, like a card reader, or maybe a display port or whatever you can buy those adapters as add-ons. You could have 4 different adapters in the computer. You could have a bag of adapters to replace them with if you needed to, kind of like a bag of dongles, which is what we were stuck with on Mac until this most recent iteration. So the framework PC, if you guys don't remember it, you should take a look at it. They're pretty cool. They're a little bit more expensive than an HP or an Acer, but that kind of flexibility, you can see as long as framework goes into the future being successful, you're going to be able to replace the motherboard. The motherboard's, you can pull it out in just a few minutes and have it in your hands. So there's no reason that computer developer, as long as they're successful into the future, isn't designing the latest version of that board for your current footprint, your current series model. So you can get the latest processor and add it to what you're doing. Since it supports USB-C, well, that's the defunct standard now across all different platforms. So whatever device that could be imagined in the future will have a USB connector, which means it could be a module in the framework ecosystem. I think that's going to be, this is my opinion, and I'm nerding out on it, but I think that's going to be a real driver in the future, is this repairability, this upgradability. If they couple it with a program to send back stuff, like a core charge, you'd really be sold on it.
When you the computer, can you dictate the components that you want?
Yes, but the point is, the reason you can so easily do that is because they're so easily changed. Unlike a Dell, where they've built it with like 4 or 5 different Dell's much more like framework. Like an HP, where they have built it with like 3 different series in mind. Then you're limited to different designs. Whereas framework, each piece of it is component, what would you call it, modular. Everything from the keyboard to the screen to the motherboard to the storage to the ports, it's all modular. And so that can be dictated to order, or you can come back later and change it when you own the device and realize you have different requirements. Since we're talking about this so much, I'm going to just paste the link into the chat here.
You're using the term frame.
That's the name of the laptop. It's a name brand like Acer. I'm bringing a screen. I don't know.
It is a laptop. That was what my question was going to be.
Sorry, Cheryl, you broke up there.
Okay, so we're talking about Framework as the name of the company that makes these laptops that are modular. Is that?
Yes. Hey, can you see me right now? I've got one on my screen. And that's the insides of it. Can you see those modulars in to the left? Oh, also to the right, the upper right. That's what a module looks like. You can almost make out that it's a USB-C connector. Can you guys nod if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing? Yeah? Okay. So the hard drive is there as a stick. The RAM is there as
I had to pin you. But I found
the motherboard is right there in that person's hands. This is a laptop that is designed with the intention of the owner replacing parts on it when necessary. I don't have any other great pictures, I guess. So here we go. Our mission. The time has come for consumer electronic products. I think that's before storage.
$749. $749.
$749. I think that's the price before you've added a storage to it, like a SSD drive. But they're beautiful. Look at how slick that is. It's like an Ultrabook, but built so that it can be repaired by you or me. If there's a problem with it, they would send you out a part, assuming that you're able to change it, because they built to be repaired by its users. So in the PC market, I think this is the most interesting PC right now. Doesn't have a touch screen, or at least last time I checked, it doesn't have a touch screen. Anyway, that's the framework PC. I think I've lost everybody's video feed. I hope they're still with us. Oh, there's Cheryl. Well, we got just a little bit more time left.
I'm here.
I'm here.
Apple is really quite old. And I'm thinking about the Acer laptop. I'm thinking about combining that with a monitor. You know, I like big screens because of the things I do. But
Sure.
what would be your recommendation for a high quality monitor?
Wow.
To go with the PC.
Yeah.
Laptop, I mean.
Well, I think that it would need to be a 4K. I think I would go through the stats on the box and then look at reviews. So I would be looking for a 4K monitor that could be used for more than. I decide what inputs matter to me. I typically want at least 3 HDMI inputs on it. If you have any older devices, you might want to be able to plug a VCR into it or an old video camera. I don't know what your component situation is, Chester, but you'd want to have that known before you buy something. I have that in mind. I don't have a recommended name brand. The LGs are well known as Macintosh monitors before Mac was making their own monitors. And they're well known for having
I had a bad experience with that.
Well, I was just going to share that.
Experience with an LG.
I was going to share that with you. I was going to share that with you. One of the things that Mac owners have complained about with the LGs, they have the OLED screen. And apparently one of the problems with OLED is that if your screen is going to have an image on it for a long period of time, it will burn in and it will diminish the quality of the screen. This is one of the things they've discovered with OLED. And so there has to be some sophisticated technology making sure that doesn't happen. And apparently LG doesn't do a good job of that. And so I really, I don't know.
I'd take a look at Samsung. I'll take a look to see if there's a Samsung that might work.
I'm a big fan of the Samsung monitors and TV sets, but it's mostly from a price versus features. But I haven't had. See, I'm just trying to think how many Samsungs have been in my life. I haven't had any die. You had a Samsung issue, didn't you?
No, I had an LG issue.
It was an LG issue. Okay.
It was a 65-inch TV that lasted 2 years.
You know what's interesting in terms of Samsung, what is kind of interesting if you want to see the way that they do business, they and LG are making the panels for all these other name brands right now. They make that flat panel display. And when Sony wanted to show off the latest, greatest screen that they could make, Samsung made the panel for it. However, that all brand new technology showcased in a Sony TV set, Samsung did not do it themselves. They built it for customers. But I think they're letting the customer do the trial period with it, and they're building what they put their name on is the stuff that's been tried and true. Whereas this brand new technology, they're letting Sony foot the bill for it until it's proven itself. This is true, but this is kind of my opinion on why they're doing this. Is I think that Sam, I think I like Samsung products. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the input.
Yeah.
So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. I won't see you next week on Computer Club. But
Well,
maybe
Judy,
2
before
weeks,
you go, do you have any recommendations for us?
I don't. Except I'm watching Shooter right now. Shooter, Shooter.
Oh, and
Netflix.
you'd recommend that? Shooter on Netflix?
It's exciting. He's a sniper.
I have not heard of it. Well, I will make a recommendation for you since you're leaving right now. One of the topics that I have on here is the John Oliver show from last week. Did you guys happen to catch that? It's all about data brokers. And I think everyone should watch this episode. He's talking about how easy it is to get individual information. And so he went ahead, his show is hired anonymized data from the general Washington, D.C. area, specifically around the capital area, and has had some luck in identifying very specific people in Congress and their behaviors on the internet through anonymous data that is sold legally. And he's put up a challenge to Congress to pass privacy legislation before he releases his information. They're calling it, he's blackmailing Congress with their internet behavior. So this is fascinating.
Kind of on the same line, I was very interested in the fact that the Secret Service has been infiltrated by maybe who knows what, but maybe terrorists, I don't know, but that the Secret Service had been infiltrated. That to me shows a huge data breach.
Secret Service has a moral problem, and they've had it for years.
Well, these people were not Secret Service.
No, I know.
They are infiltrated.
Yeah, I know what the issue you're talking about, but I'm just commenting in addition, the Secret Service for years has had problems morally.
Well, getting back to this is a good example of data that's collected and sold to businesses, sold to marketers, and how it's intended to be anonymized and how very easy it is to de-anonymize it and be used specifically against individuals, and how right now this whole practice is legal. John brings up back in the late 70s, the legislation that was created about VHS rental information, and how there was no real legislation protecting anybody's usage of video stores until a journalist went to a video store and was able to get politicians' video history of what was being rented. And they were able to use that as a story on data protection. This is back in the late 70s. And immediately after this story was published, Congress had a video rights protection bill passed so that their behaviors could not be tracked through a video store. It would be illegal for them to share that information with anyone else. So it's very, very interesting. It's another one of those areas that I think, like, we're shaping the way that this technology is used through our regulation, through our insights and understanding how things work. The idea that information like on your block could be purchased, and just through a few identifiable points in the data, I could narrow it down to specifically you. And now that I've identified that point as being you specifically, then I can look at all the things that you've done through that data that was collected legally and sold legally. It's a stalker's paradise. And that's John's real point, is that this is not going to change until we have regulation that will change it. They will pass legislation if they are not protected. And that protection will be default for all of us. So it's very interesting. That's my recommendation. Check out John Oliver's last commentary on blackmailing Congress for privacy acts. How's everybody else doing? We're rolling to a close. Do we have any other recommendations for this meeting? I do have a couple others if you're not interested in John Oliver. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I have a couple of Netflix. I have a couple of things I've been watching. One was, I think it was a mini-series called Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Basically a serial rapist, and it was only because the two detectives in two different police departments had a connection and got talking about things that they were able to discover how wide a range of there was, and it was quite well done.
Awesome. I'm trying to bring up my recommendations list to write it down. I'm going to just write it into our document right now. Come on, computer. Come on.
I have a high-tech recommendation.
What you got, Paul?
Netflix. It's called Return to Space, and it's the history of SpaceX.
Oh.
The 18 years of failures and successes that led to them being able to send astronauts up to the space station. It's a 2-hour movie.
I've seen it there in the lineup, but I haven't watched it yet.
Return to Space. It's very interesting.
You know, can I recommendation with another new one that's on Netflix called Apollo 10½? Now, it might turn you off because it's animated, but it's that what do they call it when they've taken video and they've animated on top of it. And I think the animation makes sense because the story is the story of the moon landing from a 10-year-old's perspective. and it's really well done. It's a great return to that time period. A lot of nostalgia around that time period. A lot of information about the space training and what was happening over there. A lot of information from Texas at the time, and it's interesting. All in the late 1960s. Just a fun story of a boy's perspective. He's cast himself as the astronaut that goes to the moon. At the same time, it parallels the journey to the moon, and so he's telling the story and bouncing back and forth between reality and his vision of him going, like kind of like a fever dream of him being the one that's in the cockpit, the one that's descending down. And the story he's told himself is that NASA made the lander too small, so they had to recruit a 10-year-old to do it. It's fun. It's kind of the way that you kind of remember things from when you were a kid, the way you would tell yourself stories. Apollo 10.5. Well, guys, our group is diminishing. My connection has been lousy this whole time, so I'm glad we were able to get this far without a problem. If there's anything else to add, it's now or forever hold your peace, because I think we're going to call it until next Tuesday. I see Mom's back on here. Mom, I'm going to get a hold of you after the meeting. Yes, Paul. Well, you're welcome.
I want to thank you for your tire store recommendation. I got some beautiful, high, aggressive, all-terrain tires for my car.
Oh, excellent!
So I can go out in the desert birding.
For years, we've been using 2 different tire stores, and we've just gotten sick of both of them. And so we went in there on a whim, and we're very pleased with how easy they were to work with and so accommodating. They have a good service department in there, at least at the moment. You know how Wymus is.
I asked if he had tires for a golf cart, and he says, no, we don't have those, but a friend of mine does. And so he called the place to find out if they had my size, and found out they'll be available in 2 weeks. And I wrote down the phone number for them, and told me all about how to find them on Cerdon, and he was very helpful about that.
Yeah, and they've got a big bay in there, and apparently they don't take appointments. You just have to show up. But they're open from, I think they said from 8 to 6 every day.
Yeah, he says if it's best to get there at 8.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad I could help with that. And with all your computer needs, just keep me in mind. I will reach through the internet and fix your computer problems. I am Scott Stimson with International Computer Solutions, once again coming to you with the San Carlos Computer Club, saying tech on. Until next Tuesday, we will have our next meeting. Please bring your topics. Look for the document that I send out. Brad, did you ever get everything sorted out? Talk to me if you still need help with something.
I still do.
Okay.
I can't seem to get POP to work on AOL.
All right. I may have some time this afternoon if you want to do a remote session. We'll set a time and date.
What time is good for you?
Today? Probably in 2 hours. It'd be 1 o'clock my time.
I've got a doctor's appointment at 1.
Okay.
Of course you do.
Let me.
How about somewhere around 3?
Are we in the same time zone?
Well, let's see. It's 11:17 here.
Okay. Yeah, 3 works. I'm putting you in right now.
Okay.
And are you good on WhatsApp? I'll just contact you through WhatsApp, or you can contact me. I sent you. Did you get my message I sent to you last week, or the week before? When was it?
No, I don't think I did.
Right. I just used WhatsApp because you had said that you were using it while you're in Costa Rica.
Yep, I got your message.
Great. Well, we'll talk later today then.
Okay, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. That's the plan.
Okay,
Okay.
talk to you then.
See you guys. Adios. Adios. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. If you need help out there somewhere, get a hold of me, Scott at internationalcs.net. If you loved our videos, stuff we do, check out scclub.org. I am turning off this stream. And Mom, if you can hang around, I'm going to talk to you for a little bit.
All right.
Scott, can you do anything about the video poker machine that's taking my money and not giving me a royal?
I could tell you to stop playing it.
That's a